morning, my neighbors. Happy Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023. Super excited. Got a big show for you guys today. Joined by my friend Lindsey Graham, probably one of the fiercest mothers in Arizona. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff going on out in Arizona and what it was like for her to testify before her school board dressed as a cat. Her video went viral over the last couple of months of her trying to convince her school board that she was, in fact, a cat. We're going to get to that in just 1 minute. Lindsay will be joining us at about, 8:30 or so. So before we get to that, guys, make sure you guys hit that Rumble button. Keep sharing this video out all over the place. If you're new to the channel, do hit that follow button, please. Help this channel grow. We're so close to 3,000 on Rumble. That channel's getting bigger and bigger. If you're on Facebook, hit the like button. Share the video out into all of your social media groups. We're going to be talking about the budget that finally passed in New York. All the nonsense involved in that. The business crippling provisions in there, because why would we put forth a New York State budget unless we're hurting small businesses? Also, if you're from Long Island, great news. You can now get pot delivered to your house because, why would we need a population that was any less desensitized to the world? So let's just deliver them weed directly to their front door. Before we get to that, guys, a quick word from a phenomenal sponsor of the show, of course. That is Quality Life Construction. Guys, Quality Life Construction, our friend Dale Boucher, who's always in the chat. What do we got here? Who's putting gigantic? Oh, this is great. Oh, Eugene Michelotti. You know what? I'm going to leave this person in the chat because they're absolutely batshit crazy. Batshit crazy. And apparently not brave enough to put their own Facebook post up, or their own Facebook picture up there as I sit in front of a camera for 10 hours a week. However, they will spew nonsense facts that actually have nothing to do with reality. But you know what those comments will do? They will continue to trigger the algorithm. So I do thank Eugene, bit of an odd name. It's like an Italian last name and a gay first name. So Eugene, have a good time with that. Just ignore them. They're gonna post the entire time. Somehow they've made a connection between a white supremacist and an Orthodox Jew, and that's what we're supposed to believe is real news. Of course it isn't. But why bring up facts to ugly people? Why bring up facts to the uglies? We shouldn't do that, so we're just going to let that one slide. Guys, Dale Boucher, he's a dear friend of the show, Quality Life Construction. If you guys are looking for any sort of home improvement stuff, whether it's kitchen or bath remodeling, finishing your deck, finishing a basement, front doors, windows, anything of that nature, give our friend Dale Boucher a call over at 631-745-3222. Let him know the loud majority sent you guys. Dale's always in the chat. He's a dear friend of the show, a local guy. You guys should support local small businesses like Quality Life Construction. That's Dale Boucher over at 631-745-3222. Or shoot him an email over at qualitylife_123@yahoo.com for free estimates. The licensed and insured contractor, guys. Call Dale Boucher at Quality Life Construction for all of your kitchen, bath remodeling needs. Dale's a great guy, and I'm proud to have him. I'm proud to have him as a viewer of the show. We're going to dive into this story about the New York State budget because we have to. We got to talk about how apparently this New York City legislature just doesn't care about business. It doesn't care about bail reform. It doesn't care about immigration. All it cares about is taxing people into oblivion. Some of the socialists in the New York State Assembly actually voted against this because it didn't tax us enough. It didn't tax us enough, but we'll get to that in just 1 second. The state legislature late Tuesday approved a $229 billion state budget, which includes new provisions for setting bail, banning natural gas stoves in most new buildings, and a landmark change to minimum wage. Of course, minimum wage laws don't work. All they do is either drive away businesses altogether or stop companies from hiring low-skilled teenage workers. Of course, but Democrats don't really care about that. All they care about is the virtue signal. The Senate and Assembly on Tuesday passed the last of the 23-24 budget bills. The budget was due midnight almost 5 weeks ago. Of course, they couldn't come to a decision, despite having supermajorities in both houses. Because, you see, the fact that they have supermajorities in both houses means that the far most leftist people in the Assembly and the Senate basically get to hold it hostage for all of their crazy left-wing policies. Whereas when Republicans have this, we tend to tack to the middle. And that's why we achieve nothing in the state of New York, even when we do have control of one of the houses or the governor. But that's just how things work. The legislature spent Tuesday afternoon into the evening debating and approving, mostly along party lines, the omnibus bill referred to as the Big Ugly. This massive bill has gotten the name because it contains many of the most contentious issues on which the entire budget agreement hinged. Debate had continued into the night over the remainder of the budget bills. The bills made it to the public Tuesday, revealed details of the biggest and most controversial issues in the budget. For example, Hochul had proposed changes to the 2019 progressive law that sought to end bail for most nonviolent suspects. The legislature had wanted that law so that defendants weren't jailed for weeks or months before trial without bail. The changes made on Tuesday to the 2019 bail reform law included more than 7,000 added and redacted words. Hochul sought her second round of changes in 2 years to the law after Republicans said it increased crime by releasing dangerous suspects into the community. Of course, Republicans aren't saying that. Reality is saying that. But no need to talk about that when it comes to Democrats. Among these provisions are no longer requiring judges to follow the least restrictive conditions to ensure a suspect returns to court for hearings and trial. Instead, the law states the decision must, quote, reflect the findings of the individualized determination of the defendant, including his or her criminal record, flight risk, to make sure the defendant returns to court. The law added that judges may consider, quote, the kind and degree of control or restriction necessary to reasonably assure a defendant's return to court. It struck from the law the provision that requires judges to, quote, consider an individual's financial circumstances of the suspect and his or her ability to post bail without an undue burden. Well, we wouldn't want criminals to face an undue burden. We wouldn't want that at all. We want to make sure that we make it as easy for criminals as humanly possible. And monthly reports to analyze bail for suspects of different races and backgrounds to assure fairness, of course, because why wouldn't we bring up race at the earliest possible moment? Hochul said these changes would give judges more discretion to deny bail to defendants who could be a threat to their community. The bail law, which was the top campaign issue over the last two legislative sessions, again touched off some intense debate in the Assembly and the Senate. Jamal Bailey, Democrat of the Bronx and person whose brain doesn't function at a very high level, deflected criticism of the bail bill by Republicans who said the change failed to combat crime. Yeah. Bail is designed to return an individual to court, whatever your feelings. Bail is not a cudgel to drive up mass incarceration. Yeah, good job, dumbass. But Anthony Palumbo of Suffolk said that the changes fail to allow judges to consider the dangerousness of an individual, as he said New Jersey allows. What do you consider dangerous? Bailey asked. Quote, dangerous is somewhat of a subjective term, Palumbo said, but it's based off a particular set of facts. And then Bailey said there should be no room for subjectivity. I, as a black man, would be considered dangerous by many. No, I would consider you dangerous because somehow you've been elected to state office and you are not all that bright. Your race has absolutely nothing to do with it. Of course, we've got to electrify all of our new buildings here in New York. A measure effective in 2025 would require most new buildings of 7 stories or lower, residential and commercial, to be powered by electricity rather than natural gas. Good luck building a home in New York. Democrats defended the policy as a major step to reduce fossil fuel emissions, which contribute to global warming. Republicans argued that the law will be taking away the choice of New Yorkers to heat their home with natural gas and would drive up utility costs. No, you're missing the point, Republicans. How about this? You remember like 20 years ago when idiot liberals wanted us to stay out of their bedrooms? Why don't you just make the stay out of my kitchen? Stay out of my hot water heater. Throw it right back in their face. No, instead you give a rational argument to an irrational position, and then you get this. No one cares. No one cares. Of course, we've got to throw weed in there because why wouldn't? Well, I'm going to get to weed in a second. We're going to talk about the minimum wage because the minimum wage is the stupidest economic policy in the history of liberalism. As the great Thomas Sowell says, despite what one dumbass from Smithtown wants to say, the minimum wage is actually zero. Because it turns out if you aren't hired for a job because businesses stop hiring because the minimum wage is too high, your minimum wage is, of course, zero. The minimum wage for Long Island, New York City, and Westchester will raise to $15 now to $16 an hour, January of 2024 to $16.50, and January of 2025 to $17 an hour. For the rest of the state, the wage will be phased in by 2026. Notice what she does there? Only to hurt the downstate, people. Only to hurt the downstate. Only to hurt downstate businesses. And, of course, we've got to get to weed because, that's the only thing that matters in New York, not the fact that there are people shooting up in the middle of Central Park. I wouldn't walk through Washington Square Park if you paid me in the middle of the night. No. The new law empowers the State Office of Cannabis Management and Taxation and Finance Departments to investigate and prosecute unauthorized sales of cannabis, which has hurt the startup New York's new legalized cannabis trade through certified sellers. The law creates misdemeanors for unauthorized sale of cannabis that can be raised to felonies for larger amounts and repeat offenders. Fines will range from $25,000 for the unauthorized sale of 5 to 12 pounds up to $75,000 for unauthorized sales, and up to 12 pounds will be $100,000. So it turns out you can sell weed in this state, but you got to make sure you get your state-approved $250,000 permit first. It's absolutely unbelievable. And, of course, we can now get weed sent to our homes here on Long Island. And look, I support marijuana legalization. However, maybe it shouldn't be the easiest thing in the world. Because it turns out our population is stupid enough to begin with. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. It's absolutely unreal. We can now get weed delivered to the house. After greeting a delivery person I love how butter soft this Newsday article is. Like, yay, after greeting a person on their doorstep like it's some kind of a Girl Scout selling cookies. After greeting a delivery person on his doorstep and showing his ID, signing his name, Brian Brown finalized the first legal recreational cannabis sale on Long Island this Tuesday. The exchange from the second the car parked outside his Nassau County apartment to the moment Brown placed 4 items in his doorway took barely 2 minutes. Brown has waited that number of years to buy legal pot. Quote, it's something that I'm sure a lot of people have been looking forward to, adding that being the first official cannabis consumer on Long Island was both cool and baffling. Unbelievable. His $875 order included a 4-pack of black cherry seltzer infused with cannabis and 3 1-ounce bags of flowers, the part of the marijuana that's smoked. Thank you, Newsday, for letting us know that marijuana is a plant that you smoke, dumbasses. Brown celebrated the milestone by taking a selfie with Matt Robinson, 37, the founder and CEO of Legacy Dispensaries, an Albany-based delivery service, of course, because why would we keep the businesses here on Long Island when they can be incorporated up in Albany so they can have the thumb of the federal government hanging over them? That's, of course, what we always do here. Is Eugene still going? Oh, no. That's somebody else. Yes. So it turns out you can have pot delivered to your house here on Long Island. No big deal. But after 2025, if you light a Newport off of a gas stove, they're going to send you to Rikers Island for the rest of your life. Guys, Lindsey Graham's going to join us in just 1 second. But first, a quick ad, a quick word from my dear friend, over at My Pillow, Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your My Pillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, My Pillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get My Pillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Guys, please do support great patriots like Mike Lindell. He supports this show. Please go support him. Head on over to MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. You can get the new MyPillow 2.0, which I got, and they're absolutely spectacular. They stay cool the entire night. You can pick up the Giza Dream sheets, or you can pick up the MyPillow dog bed. And if you guys want to know how the MyPillow dog bed is, don't take my advice. Just ask him. The craziest dog on planet Earth sits there nice and calmly all day long. All day long. So if you guys didn't see my friend Lindsey Graham and her viral video of her at her local school board meeting dressed as a cat meowing at her school board to show them how insane they all are, here it is.
And I am a cat. Meow, meow. I'm not a woman dressed as a cat. I am a cat. By show of hands, I'm curious, how many of you believe and confess that I'm a cat? Great. By show of hands, I'm curious, how many of you believe that your child or a child from this school would believe that I'm actually a cat? No one. You are right. Why? Because you are not stupid, and these children are not stupid. Truth prevails over imagination. Reality exists. Discernment is innate and something we are biologically wired to have. One look at me, and you know this to be true. I am a woman posing as a cat. You may also think correctly that if I truly believe I'm a cat, I have a mental disorder. If I suffer from a mental disorder, and if I am unable to discern reality, am I safe to be around children? Would you put me in charge of making critical decisions about the safety and well-being of children and about the direction of their education when I cannot even discern truth from fiction? Confession. I'm not actually a cat, guys, just because I say I am. You've not agreed to or committed to addressing me as a cat simply because I demand it. No tail, whiskers, or outfit makes me a cat, just like no lipstick, high heels, or long hair makes him a man, a woman. It is just as biologically impossible for me to become a cat as it is for a man to be a woman. And you have one job as members of this school board, and it's defined as this. School board members are responsible for broad, forward-thinking, minute analysis and decisive action in all areas that affect students and staff in their schools. I ask you, do you believe that the actions of a grown man playing dress-up as a woman affects the students and staff positively or negatively? A public school is not the place for social experiments in altered realities or gender ideologies. It is not the place to celebrate a grown man with a mental illness, dressing as a woman, and teaching kids lies. Children come to school to learn facts and truths about reality, including unchanging biological truths about science and nature, not to learn that they can change biological realities and become anything they want in the name of diversity. What you're actually doing is worse than just lying to our kids. You're forcing them to be participants in your lie, in your charade. You're forcing them to deny what they see with their eyes, and you're forcing them to speak lies. I ask you again, am I a cat? And if you say no, then the mindset must be aligned with your discernment across the board. By allowing a falsity to be displayed and paraded around the school, you teach children that truth is not existent, facts are not real, and biology is a lie. You fail at your job, your only job, by confusing children and teaching them untruths and to coddle a grown man playing dress up as a woman. If you were to address me as a cat right now, it's as ridiculous as when you say Miss Bixler and a grown man's voice comes thundering over the...
Thank you.
Lindsay's absolutely spectacular, guys. We're going to bring her in just 1 minute. But, guys, please do remember, hit that Rumble button. Keep sharing this video out if you're new to the page. Hit that follow button right underneath the video. If you're on Facebook, hit the like button. Keep sharing this video out. We are so close to 40,000 followers on Facebook. I want to thank you all so much for the support. Help us get to 40,000 followers on Facebook. We're getting bigger and bigger every single day. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we will be right back with my dear friend, Lindsey Graham. Alrighty, guys, we are back. I'm super excited to have my next guest on. I've been wanting to have her on for a while. We met a while back. She's an incredible patriot out there in Arizona. She's got an unbelievable story. Please welcome my friend, the Patriot Barbie, Lindsey Graham. How's it going, Lindsey?
There's a conservative. Hey, there's a conservative Barbie, so it's kind of like, wait, what? Which Barbie are you? There's like a million of them now.
Yeah, no, they picked it up. It works. So, firstly, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your story, and then we're going to get into you going to the school board meeting in your cat outfit, because a that video went viral, but B, it was genuinely hilarious. Why don't you tell everybody about kind of what got you started in this, because you have a wild story from where you used to live, right?
I do, yeah. So I would say that I'm not really known for this anymore, but I was known. Got into this movement because I was a salon owner in Oregon that stood up to lockdowns. I reopened my salon in Oregon in 2020. It was probably one of the first in America, and got totally cancel cultured, got attacked by my governor, issued all these fines. It was global news. So we ended up getting canceled so badly, like death threats, losing all of our businesses, 6 businesses, that we sold everything, left everything behind, and moved to Arizona. And after moving to Arizona, I did not have it in me to start up a new business. I just could not figure out like why God had done this to me, and prayed about it a lot and discovered that I believe he, had a bigger purpose for me. And that purpose is in like the patriotic, Save America Christian movement. So here I am.
Absolutely, and you've been doing a phenomenal job out there. So much so that one of your school board members, I think, got a restraining order against you because you are outspoken and wouldn't stop pressing about the nonsense going on in our schools. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
All right, that's a good one. So the video did go viral. It was on like Fox National News in December. I had spoken at my first ever school board November 14th of 2022 and dressed up as a cat, and basically made the point, which is just because I put whiskers and a tail on doesn't make me a cat, just like that dude putting on lipstick and earrings doesn't make him a woman. Mm-hmm. So we got this 6'2", 72-year-old man with white hair. He looks like Christopher Lloyd. He's got a deep man voice. He's like lived his whole life as a man, been married, had kids. All of a sudden his wife dies and he starts dressing like a woman and being his quote true self, which is whatever. Do it in the privacy of your home, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's a free America. But this man sits on a school board and he's in charge of elementary school students, and he visits the fundraisers, the parties, the events, the sports, the spelling bees, all of them. He's got nothing else to do in his woman garb. Mm. And he wants to be called Miss Bixler. So like the dude is as much of a dude as you are. Like you're a dude, I can tell. That's
well, thank
what
you.
He looks
thank
like,
you.
But he's got to. You're welcome. Who knew that would be a compliment in this day and age?
I've been trying to really.
You look like a man.
I've been trying to really show off my my manhood for a while now. I think it's
yeah.
I think it's really
coming through.
Well,
Nailed it.
Apparently now, even as a man, I can go model lingerie, which apparently is a thing that men do now, which is it is incredible to see how far down the rabbit hole these people have gone. And, I remember 20 years ago hearing people like Rick Santorum go on Fox News and talking about gay marriage. And I remember being young and being like, who cares? Just let them, let people get married, whatever. Why is that any of your concern? And he talked about the slippery slope, about how far we're going to go down this rabbit hole. And now we're at the point where you have lunatics out there like Dylan Mulvaney and this male lingerie model, which is horrifying.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I don't know. I worry because as far as I can tell, there's only one thing coming next after this. And it involves kids, and it's a family-friendly show, so I'm sure you all can work that out on your own. But, it's so worrisome. Now, you're in Arizona, a swing state. I'm up here in the deep blue liberal hellhole that is New York. So what are you seeing on the ground? Because your state obviously just went through a very contentious election with Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs. We all know what happened there. No need to relitigate that. But what is it like to be in that sort of real deep purple area where the elections really can go one way or the other?
It's, I felt like when we moved here, the reason we moved here was because it was red. There's Trump flags flying everywhere and everyone's pro-gun and like keep the border closed and all that. And there's just been a shift, like in America in general. I tell people the black fog that is like the left and their policies and their transgenderism and their drag pride shows with kids and like, that is it's a smoke that's going to infiltrate everything. There's not going to be somewhere you can run and escape this. It's like a literal virus. It's filth and it is spreading. And, we still feel pretty good in Arizona. Like I would think if I moved to your state, what has become of your state due to like Democrat and leftist policies would be very apparent probably the minute you move there. Like the homelessness, the dirt, the graffiti, the drugs, just like in Oregon where I moved from.
Oh, Oregon.
I would never go to Oregon.
Oregon is a failed state. Portland is a failed city. I've never been to Portland, but I went to Seattle like 6 years ago. And I remember just thinking to myself like, oh no, like this is never coming back. It's over. It's never going to be normal again, and I worry that for the greatest city in the world. I mean, we have that we have that New York arrogance where we think we're better than everybody because we are. But
it's like we're the worst.
It's really. I say it all the time. If you go to New York City, the whole city smells like weed. The entire city.
That's wild.
And even I'm like, I'm not even that big on like, legalize it, whatever, have a good time, keep it to yourself. But like. It's thick in the air, and that is like the first step to the decay of a major American city.
That's too bad. That's sad. Well, at least it's marijuana. I'm sure if meth had a smell, Oregon would probably smell like meth. Oregon smells like dead bodies on the sidewalk because they're doing drugs on the sidewalks now and just passing out overdosing.
It's absolutely unbelievable what people have started to allow to happen to particularly our major metropolitan areas. Now, you're from Oregon. There's a big state movement up there in Oregon to become part of Idaho. I don't know if you're aware of that, but apparently Idaho is about to quadruple in size because Northern California wants to leave, half of Oregon wants to leave. I'm curious what you think of that and if you've had any contact with the people up there sort of running that new free state of Oregon movement.
I think that they should. I hope they're successful. Like everyone talks about Oregon as a whole, which we all do, right? But the mass of Oregon is like rural, farm, blue collar people who are, again, pro-gun, pro-Trump, pro-freedom. And then you've got these three massive liberal cities, which is Portland, Salem, and Eugene. And they're just dominating the ballots and the policies. And so all of these people in that little corner there are like, dude, we could just like sever ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And instantly be in freedom. And I'm like, good. What is the process for that? And is it really feasible? Because why not? I mean, everyone talks about we're so divided and maybe we should just have blue states and red states and that's it. And I'm like, yes, we should. Like the blue states would annihilate themselves. They would eat themselves alive. They wouldn't function and it would prove that their policies don't work. The red states would thrive. I'm totally okay with this. I would love to live in a community with no liberals.
Well, it's so funny. I've said it for so long. There was that John Podesta was wargaming out what happened if Trump won the election and all this, and he talked about Washington, Oregon, and California seceding from the country. And every conservative heard that, and we were like, yes. How do we make that happen? Let's do this.
Chop, chop,
let's do this right now. It's so funny because people on Long Island, where I'm from, they talk about all the time, Long Island becoming its own state. And I tell people, look, guys, that's just not going to happen. There's a better chance of me dunking a basketball than that ever happening because of the Senate problems. That would mess up the balance of power in the Senate. The same reason why D.C. will never be a state, why Puerto Rico will never be a state. But the joining Idaho movement could really give a huge swing both in the electoral college process and in just the happiness of the people in Oregon. So I'm really excited to see what
So
happens.
there's more to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting. I
Oh,
was just thinking about their freedom. Like, get the people to freedom, but if it could change elections, that'd be cool too.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it would. Right now, there's only so many ways to win the presidency, and if you're going to give 5 more electoral votes, considering Northern California and Eastern Oregon into Idaho, a red state, that's going to make Idaho a place that I don't want to say matters more, but right now there's probably about 15 states out there that unfortunately politicians tend not to care about because there aren't enough votes there. Montana, Rhode Island, places like that. But I think that would seriously upset the balance of what we know as electoral politics.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. There's people in every little facet of each state all across America doing little things to make a difference. This is one of them that you're like, I hope they're successful. Whoever's doing it, I hope they know what they're doing. That'd be amazing.
So obviously you're a mom. You are involved in your local school boards. You've caused a ruckus there, we shall say. So what advice would you give other mothers? Because a lot of people watching this are stay-at-home moms who only really got involved in the process of politics, really started to pay attention during COVID. What would you say to them when they're feeling discouraged or when they're looking for ways to get more involved?
Ooh, easy. God is on the throne. Like, I am knee deep, if not waist deep, in the filth that is like protecting our children and exposing, pedophiles and like teachers that are trying to indoctrinate your kids. And it's like, the abortion movement especially is heartbreaking. I mean, it literally, the Bible says like break my heart for what breaks yours. And when I think about all of the sweet innocent babies that are just being murdered and yanked out of their mother's womb, and how vile that is, and how America just accepts it, I cry sometimes. And then I have to remember, like, God's got all of this in his hands. He knows what's happening, and that gives me so much faith, because I feel like it is going to get worse, and probably in the way that you were saying earlier. And it's going to be really hard to swallow, like really hard to digest on a daily basis, what's happening across America and across the world with children. But we know that the worse it gets, the closer we are to Jesus coming back. So I'm like, all right, get worse quickly, so we can just go to heaven.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, but, moms are going to kill it, because, maybe if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't care about myself the way that I care about my kids. You don't care about yourself as much as you would care about if you had children. When you have children, something supernatural happens, and those babies become your purpose in your life. And so they have really pissed off moms, and, women are getting bolder and braver, because you don't ever want to be the mom that sits back and goes, oh, I let it happen, but I was too busy cooking or, drinking wine or brunching. Like, this is a big fight, and everyone's got to get in it.
Absolutely. And it's so, it's the stat I tell people all the time when it comes to abortion. They ask me why I'm pro-life. And I tell people, do you know last year, within the 5 boroughs of Manhattan, the Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, Queens, and Brooklyn, more black babies were aborted than were born? And I think to myself, how on earth can you claim that you're like, Black Lives Matter? And it's like, yeah, all of them? Or just the ones that you find convenient.
Right.
And it's so shocking to me.
Past a heartbeat, yeah.
Yeah, it's so shocking to me that people can't make that correlation, that if we found bacteria on Mars, we would consider it life. But a heartbeat on Earth is not life.
Yeah, it's vile. It's so disgusting. I share videos of like what an abortion looks like, and there's just this tiny little, hand-sized baby. And you there's no way realistically you could look at that and go, nope, not a baby. It's obviously a human.
It's so shocking to me, because when technology wasn't so good, maybe the 80s or the 90s, and Democrats came out and they said safe, legal, and rare. That was their standard. They were like, look, we know this isn't a good thing, but it's necessary. So let's just be moderate on it, and not now. It's the point where, look, any woman you've ever met that's pregnant cannot wait to show you that sonogram. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what I'm looking at. Apparently there's something there. They all know what they're looking at. Those 3D sonograms get realer and realer. as technology has gotten better and better, people have gone more and more out of their way to claim it's not a life than they did back in the 70s when we couldn't actually see the baby inside of somebody. And it's staggering to me that people will look at that and go, nope, not a baby.
Yeah, and also once you can determine that indeed it is a baby, right, by showing them ultrasounds, and then they'll move on to a different point, which is like, but it's life is dependent on its mother, and she has a right to do with her body. It's like, so you just basically told me you are okay with her killing her baby, because once you look at it and you realize it is a baby, you somehow found another excuse for why it can be killed.
Exactly.
And so I'm like, that's pure evil.
Exactly. That they've finally come around to. It used to be, oh, it's just a clump of cells, and now there's no way they can possibly say that this is not a human being. It's for me. It's not like. And look, obviously we've seen babies be viable that are born premature. It happens all the time. It's very sad when it does happen, but they live full lives afterwards, and it's terrifying because there's one picture. There's a picture that I show pro-abortion people all the time, and it's one of the most horrific things ever. It was a baby that was killed at 30 weeks by Kermit Gosnell in Philadelphia. It is like the one photograph of an existing fetus that was just murdered, and I just show them the picture, and I go, really? Because if you're okay with that, then you and we're just different people. We're just different people.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I was going to say, transitioning away from the death of children. No, but so you're obviously down in Arizona, a border state, where we've seen the influx of illegals crossing this. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. The border is wide open. We see the videos. This administration continues to lie about it. A story came out today that they don't even know where 85,000 kids went. We know exactly where they went. They went directly into human trafficking. And so what sort of impact do you see on the ground being in a border state?
I've actually gone down to the border, and it was scary because I didn't know what to expect. And this was even like probably a year ago. And so it's much worse now. But I went down there with Women Fighting for America, Christy Hutcherson, and we walked into the Gap. And when I say the Gap, I mean, like, it's huge. Like, you can walk it. And the Gap is just exactly what you would think. There's a huge wall, and then all of a sudden there's just not. And you're like, there's Mexico right there. I could see it. And they had security with us. And security was like, stay nearby me. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because they can shoot over the border. I'm like, they could literally shoot me, like, and murder me, and there would be no one to hold accountable because they're in Mexico. So besides the women and the children and the pedophiles and the pimps that are coming over and murdering and pillaging, like, our country is just exposed. And by the way, while I was there, people were crossing over. Like, little Mexicans were coming over the border, and I'm like, well, what are they doing? And she's like, well, they're illegal immigrants. Like, well, what are they doing? She's like, they're coming over. I'm like, they're literally coming over the border right now. She's like, yeah. Well, why? Because no one's going to do anything about it. Are you going to do anything about it? I'm like, well, yes, I will. So we actually wrangled them. But I'm like, it's the middle of the day, 12 o'clock, full broad daylight. No one's there to stop them. There's no need to sneak at all. So then we got in a van, and we started driving down the wall just to see, like, how far is the wall actually built, and then where does it kind of end again. And there was just a trail of immigrants, 20, 30, 40, just walking along the wall. They had gotten in the wall somewhere else, and they were just walking down the wall to come who knows where. And if we weren't there to wrangle them, and then we called Border Patrol, I just think right now, like, I've been here for 20 minutes. So that's a person per minute coming over. And all day, every day.
It shocks me. It shocks me so much that, and look, I'm obviously not advocating for any sort of a militia sort of thing, but it has shocked me that the people of Arizona and Texas haven't just stood like arms length across the border and just go, nope, you're not coming in. It's not happening.
Exactly.
Turn back or start swimming again. Yep. Like, it blows my mind that hasn't happened yet. And if particularly, as you say, if nothing else, just to assist the Border Patrol in picking up some of these kids. I mean, and look, and I do not fault I do not fault any illegal immigrant for wanting to come to America. If I lived in Guatemala, I wouldn't want to live there either. I don't fault them for making the trip. I fault the administration for allowing this sort of thing to happen. And because we don't have a full Republican border, with Arizona being obviously under Katie Hobbs now and Gavin Newsom in California, it's almost like whatever Greg Abbott does in Texas is almost going to be pointless because they're just going to walk, 100 more
we'll find our
miles.
way. There's a gap somewhere down here. We're gonna go this way.
Exactly. It's absolutely staggering. And
Well, and if we had the wall closed, it's not that immigrants couldn't come into our country. That's of course always what the left is saying. Oh, you guys are racist and America's for everybody and everyone deserves freedom. And it's like, okay, but if the wall is closed, we get to at least vet who's coming into our country, right? We see this guy with these 3 kids. He's claiming to be their father. They look terrified. Let's do a DNA test. Those aren't his kids. Put him in prison.
Exactly.
Send him back to Mexico in prison. Take the kids, and we'll help the children. We'll find their mother or whatever it is. But we're just the left says, oh, we're so heartless by not wanting them in. But what they don't realize is how heartless they are, because these kids are being trafficked over and these women are being murdered for their babies, and that is actually more disheartening and hurtful to these people, whereas this wouldn't be happening if the border was closed. They would all just stay over there until they're ready to come over legitimately.
I think people are starting to realize it, because I know, up here in New York, people were genuinely shocked when both Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott started sending illegals to New York. And I'm sitting here as a Republican in New York thinking, you know what? You all voted for this. I didn't vote for this. I worked my ass off to get Lee Zeldin elected. You wanted this stuff. But then I'm also selfishly, I'm sitting here going, no, turn back around. Don't send them here. Send them to Colorado. But
Get out of here.
They're blown away at the levels. And Eric Adams is like, we got like 30,000 illegal immigrants. The city can't handle this. And all I'm thinking is, how is Eagle Pass, Texas going to handle it if New York City can't handle 30,000? How are they going to handle upwards of 5 million?
We're not. That's the answer. We're not going to be able to.
Exactly.
And everyone's going to be so shocked when jobs are harder to find because there are people that would work for, $2 an hour. Our whole economy is going to crash.
Oh, yeah. And now we're getting reports that a lot of these illegal immigrant children are being forced to work in places that no child should work. I mean, look,
that's sad.
My first job, I was 13 years old. I was working at a summer camp. I was not 8 years old working in a slaughterhouse. Like, there are levels to where, if you want to go to your dad's construction site at 10 and help out, I got no problem with that. But, to be working in a dangerous job at 8 years old, because these children if they're not being exploited sexually, they're being exploited through their labor because they can pay them $2 a day. It's like I say, lock those people up first, the ones that are hiring illegal immigrants, particularly children. To work and so and that way we can get cheap waiters in restaurants. It's absolutely disgusting, and with the rise in but we're seeing jobs disappear with the rise of AI, and we're seeing jobs disappear with illegal immigrants, and it's almost hard to believe that real wages haven't gone up in several years. It's troubling times. But
it is troubling times.
I want to promise you, I know on our network, LFA TV, we're planning on making some trips to the border, so I'll be sure to. I'll go with you. I'll be sure to pick you up when we get down there. Lindsey Graham, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. The real Lindsey Graham, not the gay one. Lindsey, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the.patriot.barbie, and if you cannot remember all those periods, just patriotbarbie.com.
At patriotbarbie.com. Lindsey Graham, thank you so much for tuning. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, we will be right back. Alrighty, guys. Lindsey's awesome. Make sure you guys go give her a follow. The Patriot Barbie on all the social medias. I want to thank you guys all so much for tuning in today. Make sure you guys come back 1 p.m. today on LFA TV. That's rumble.com/LFA TV. For the national show. Super excited. Got a big show planned for you guys over there. Also, do head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out the shop. Use promo code LFA for 20% off everything at checkout. That's promo code LFA, Lima Foxtrot Alpha, for 20% off everything at checkout. We got a whole bunch of new stuff. Tonight, I'll be at the Merrick School Board meeting, kicking ass as usual. This Sunday, I'll be at the Londonderry Street Fair. Guys, come on down, say hello, grab a beer. It'll be a good time. That's this Sunday at the Londonderry Street Fair. And make sure you guys head on over and check out Jeremy Harrell's Rise Up show on LFA TV right now. But until 1 o'clock, everybody, on LFA TV, rumble.com/LFA TV. I'll see you guys soon. Stay loud.